All right. Now, time for the second boss that we probably will face is going to be Dausegne. Dausegne. Um, so the main focus on this fight is going to be positioning for a handful of reasons, and I'll go over that why as I explain over the fight. Um, this boss is pretty simple in that there's only one phase to her. However, there seems to be a lot of mechanics going on that seem to be pretty clockwork, and there are two main threats that I could see us swiping to pretty consistently. She has a lot of halos and her pulsating shield. Okay, so let's go over the first big mechanic, which is her inevitable dominion. When Dausegne runs out of energy, she will teleport to an inactive core. Now I have these labeled as, this purple marker, blue, green, and red. So all of these are inactive at the beginning of the fight. Let's say when she's casting an Evil Dominion, she teleports to purple. I think it's going to be telegraphed to where she's going to go, but I cannot confirm nor deny that yet. Anyways, she will start a channel once she teleports over here and starts feeding energy into this core. While she does this, is going to deal heavy raid-wide damage. How you stop it is by breaking the shield as fast as possible. The shield that she gets should be equal to 3% of her maximum health, so you're going to want to pop any offensive, defensive cooldowns during this phase, because you're going to get the most value out of it. She's just going to be standing there doing nothing. You have all the free reign in the world. There's no way Tings can move it out of your wild spirits, right? Once the shield pops, it'll deal 10% of her HP over 10 seconds, causing 40% total of her health to be dealt with just throughout going through each and every core. Now, because she casted an Evil Dominion on an inactive core, it now becomes active. So what does that mean? Great question, I'm glad you asked. This is the second mechanic that I'm most concerned about, since about once a minute, every activated core will cast a disintegration halo. You have to deal with these. It's inevitable. Call her Thanos. You have to cross these one way or another, because the halo will echo until the end of the platform. It's just going to keep going on and on and on and on and on until it reaches the very end, and then it's going to dissipate, right? So you have to get touched by it. It'll deal a moderate amount of damage. However, the thing that I'm most worried about is the debuff. The debuff will last 6 seconds, causing you to take 500% increased damage from the next halo that you touch. So you have a radiating halo come out from purple, right? Because that's the first one. I don't like that, because that's the first one. It's going to expand, expand, expand. So what you're going to want to do as this group is try to stand as close as possible to purple whenever it activates. So that way, when you have another activated core like blue come out, then you guys can position yourselves probably about, here. That should give you guys enough space to where you can, after the 6-second debuff falls off, walk into here. Because guess what? Now there's going to be this one coming through. And this is all hypothetical, I don't know if it's going to be purple, blue, green, X. This is just for the sake of argument here. Either way, the point is, you need to get to each halo as soon as possible without having the debuff on you. If you have the debuff on you, you're just straight up going to die, because it deals a shit ton of damage at 500%. Now, there is a caveat to this. I will say right now that I recommend sticking to that strategy. It's going to be the most consistent. There's not going to be any ands, ifs, ors, or buts about it. You make your way to this little place, this the energy core, there should be a telegraph showing which one is going to get activated. I think it's in the order that they get activated via her inevitable dominion, but again, because I do not have complete access to all or any easy access to VODs, I'd have to go through a whole lot. That's how I think it works, is in the order that they were activated. Don't quote me on this though. So anyway, the point is, take the Halo as soon as possible, so that way you could get the debuff gone by the next time you have to enter the next Halo, because it's just going to keep ramping up and up throughout the entire fight, and it's going to start getting hectic because you're going to start running out of room, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. I know Night Fae ability or Mage Blink, or the Warlock's personal portal will help avoid Halos, right? You could do that, that's fine. Just make sure that you're not blinking into another Halo or putting a portal into another Halo. So you could do that, just be careful. I do not know if you could disengage over it, or if you could use the Warlock Gateway to bypass the ring. That could be something that could be fun to test. Okay, on to the next mechanic. Now, there is a every 35 seconds, the boss will cast a frontal cone in the form of several beams, targeting a player. It's a pretty wide cone, it's extremely telegraphed. Dodge it or you're going to take excessive damage, and the healers will berate you. Again, like I said, it's going to be pretty clockwork here, since the next ability is going to be cast every 35 seconds. This is called Staggering Barrage. I think it's going to be dealing with mechanic after mechanic after mechanic, so it's going to be a very hands-on fight. I don't think there's going to be a lot of dry time like there was on the first boss here. So anyway, what this ability does, right, is it's going to summon 3 orbs. You could probably think of this mechanic much like Sire Denathrius's, what was it called, Night Hunter, where someone gets targeted and you have to have people in a line or grouped up and soak it to reduce the final damage the target player receives. Afterwards, you'll all get knocked back, so the person who gets marked needs to put themselves in a position to where the soaking group won't get knocked off the platform. So you can't have your guys, sitting right here. Let's say this healer gets it. You have these players. This is group 1, right? These players can come over here and make sure that this healer doesn't take a shit ton of damage. Well, this was a terrible spot, because now, the healer might get knocked off and this group might not. So now we don't have a healer for the fight. So whenever this Staggering Barrage comes and you guys are grouped up like this, the healer should position himself probably over here while group 1 comes over here. That way, when you guys get blasted, you'll get knocked back over here and can safely rejoin your group. This does cause a 45-second debuff, increasing the damage you take from this ability by 500%, which means you can't soak it twice in a row, which is why you have to have that second group. So this is group 1 over here, they soak it, and 35 seconds later, this ability is going to be cast again. Well, these guys have 10 seconds left of this debuff, so now this group comes over here, and they soak it now. Good, perfect. Now we're just alternating between these groups, going and soaking it. That's that mechanic. And now, I know what you're thinking, man, is this next mechanic also going to be cast every 35 seconds? Yeah. It's going to cast a spell called Domination Core. This is basically just going to summon an ad right here. Pretty much right next to the boss. This is something that we're going to want to immediately switch to and focus down. This ad will cast Domination Bolts. It'll deal a moderate amount of shadow damage to a player, I think it randomly targets players. So there's no real taunting it or anything. But the more important ability that we're worried about is the encroaching dominion ability. From what I've seen, it looks to be an ability that seems just to kind of happen passively. What it'll do is it'll drop 3 little swirls around itself, and after about, I think, like 1 to 2 seconds, it'll cause a black patch to appear on the floor for 2 minutes. The patch deals a moderate amount of damage to anyone standing inside of it, so these patches kind of block off some of our paths on trying to avoid these halos, because it's not just going to be these 3, it's going to be these 3 that are dropped over here, and these 3 dropped over here, and these 3 dropped over here. So on top of dodging these halos, we're also trying to dodge these patches that are on the floor. They start off relatively small, but they grow in size during the boss's absorb shield, which is another reason why we want to blow that shield up as fast as possible, because we want to have the most room for ourselves, right? Get rid of those. We kill the ad. The patches don't disappear. I'll put them back just in case. We kill the ad. We stop the patches from forming. The less patches, the better. The more room we have, the less likely we're going to fuck up and move into something that we don't need to move into, right? So the last mechanic to this fight is, standard tank swap, right? It's called Infused Strikes. The boss will frequently apply a stack to the active tank. It's a magic damage over time, and whenever it expires, it will deal raid-wide damage proportional to the amount of stacks. It looks like it's recommended to swap at 4 to 5 stacks, or whenever the tank's stacks drop off. I don't have confirmation, but I want to say the debuff in total lasts about 15 seconds, refreshing with every new stack. So, theoretically, you could stack it up to, maybe 10, 15, but it's going to start taking a heavy toll on the tank and wipe the raid whenever those stacks expire. So we're keeping it at a cool 4 to 5 stacks. That should keep it at a pretty decent damage rate so that the healers can make sure that everyone's topped off. And that's all the mechanics of the fight. Basically, what we're going to be doing is there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of tanking priority here. Just make sure that, maybe you're facing her outwards, so that way your folks in the middle don't have to worry about her parrying your melee attacks. You know what I'm saying? So with every core, we're probably going to end up moving every time in order to deal with the halos. Like I said, the halos and the shield is probably the biggest part about it all. So if we're over here by blue and we get a visual, or we know somehow, some way, that purple is the first halo that's going to be moving, then we're all going to get the fuck out of here, move all the way over here. The boss will follow us or not, I don't know yet, and then this healer would be standing in the puddle because he's a fucking jackass. This halo explodes, and then we could probably move ourselves over here as we wait for this blue one to explode. And as the debuff, all right, these are getting annoying now, but you can see how that these could be an issue. We wait for the debuff to fall, and then we run into this other halo. And now let's say we have 3 active cores, and X is the next one. Well, now we could just wait here patiently avoiding all of these floor effects here. Our debuff falls off. We run into here. Green is active now. That's the 4th halo. Our debuff from over here at X falls off. Now we could fly into the next halo over here. And that's it. Like I said, on paper, it seems like a pretty easy fight. There is a lot going on constantly. There's a lot of different mechanics we need to keep wary of. As long as we could monitor the halos and we could beat that shield in like a proper amount of time, then I think we'll be able to deal with the rest of the mechanics as they come by. That's all I have for Dausegne. Yeah, the Fallen Oracle. Yeah, thanks. Good luck.